Hi there. This time, I'm going to talk about prohibition and control. Now, yes, they are really the same thing. Prohibition, control, government regulating the behavior of humans and other entities. I'm going to use the word prohibition to refer to regulation of human beings, and control to refer to regulation of corporations and similar non-business, non-human entities, business entities, other kinds of non-human entities. Now let's start with prohibition. Prohibition is government saying there are certain things which citizens and other human beings may not do. Generally, as I'm using the term here, these are things which do not harm others or society as a whole, although they may or may not be harmful to the individual. And prohibition is a really, really bad idea for two reasons. First, because many people are going to do what they want to do regardless of government regulations. And second, because prohibition is most often a violation of human rights. And human rights are the foundation upon which our nation and the advancement of civilization are built. Expansion of human rights is the supercharger of civilization. But prohibition has been increasing in recent years. Now you may wonder why. Well, the main reason is Ronnie Rodeo's reactionary Republican Revolution. You see, back in 1980, when Ronnie Rodeo became president, one of the main things that his bosses wanted him to do was deregulate big business, especially corporations. And I'm going to get to that in a few minutes because it's an important related issue. But right now I'm talking about prohibition. Government forbidding certain actions by human beings. So why was Ronnie concerned with that? Well, in order to become president, Ronnie needed allies. And so he hooked up with a group of exclusionist Christians who wanted to institute prohibition. So for the last 40 years, the United States government has been decreasing regulations, the restrictions upon behavior of business entities, especially corporations, and at the same time it has been increasing prohibition, restriction on the behavior of human beings. Don't get me wrong, I realize that restriction upon the behavior of human beings is a necessary function of government, but only when that behavior is harmful to other human beings or harmful to the community as a whole. Remember, prohibition, as I define it here, is restriction on the behavior of human rights of human beings where that behavior is not in conflict with the rights of others and the good of the community. And it doesn't work. I can give you some examples. You probably thought of some already, especially, when I say prohibition, most of you probably think of the laws in the 1920s, which prohibited the consumption of alcohol. And anyone who has read any history about that era knows that it didn't work. People simply broke the law, and criminals helped them do it. We see the same phenomenon today with regard to marijuana. What some of you may not realize, another example, is that government at one time prohibited gambling. Really, that may be hard to believe because today government is actually in the business of encouraging and promoting gambling in many states. But prohibition of gambling has never worked. Like with alcohol and marijuana, prohibition of gambling led to criminal activity, more criminals, and it turned law-abiding citizens into criminals. Now, it's true that for certain human beings, consumption of gambling alcohol has a dilatory effect, and government has a responsibility there. But prohibition doesn't work. Now, I'd like to give a more controversial example. Abortion. If a woman is pregnant and truly does not want to carry the child to term, she is going to seek an abortion. If it is illegal, it will be dangerous and expensive. Where abortions are legal and have not been unconscionably restricted by state laws, it is generally a simple, safe, and inexpensive procedure. Oh, and by the way, the alternative leads to unwanted children, and that is bad for society. It is bad for the adults that those children become. Now, I'm not talking about whether or not I am in favor personally of abortion, because that has nothing to do with it. Humans have the right to control their own bodies, and prohibition doesn't work. Not only does prohibition not work, it is un-American, and I would go so far as to say it is anti-American, because all human beings have certain unalienable rights, and prohibition restricts those rights. Government's job is to secure the unalienable rights of human beings. Government exceeds its powers and becomes tyrannical when it attempts to restrict those rights. But as I said earlier and have explained in greater detail in some of my other videos, Ronnie Rodeo's reactionary Republican revolution reversed the course of American history. Government started restricting the rights of human beings while, at the same time, loosening the regulation upon corporations. You see, the increase in prohibition is just a diversion. It's part of a political deal. The main purpose of Ronnie Rodeo's reactionary Republican revolution was to loosen the regulations on business entities. But both efforts were counter to the American history, and both need to be reversed. Corporations and other business entities should be allowed to exist only when they advance the common good and serve human beings. If their behavior is contrary to the common good or does nothing to benefit humans, they have no real right to exist. Corporations, unlike human beings, do not have unalienable rights, and the only privileges which they have are granted by government and can be withdrawn. Good example of this is corporations who sell deleterious products and lie about the effects of their products. These corporations need to be disbanded by government. Their charters need to be withdrawn, and their executives need to go to jail. The abominations of Ronnie Rodeo's reactionary Republican revolution need to be reversed. We need to prohibit prohibition, and we need to control corporation. Counter-revolution now. Thank y'all for listening. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I hope you'll join me again sometime. All of my videos can be easily found on your friendly neighborhood internet at www.daffwold.com.